Hi everyone, Emma here. I'm getting ready to make a cuff bracelet for Carol in the UK, and this is going to be kind of an unofficial tutorial just because I'm still working through the kinks. I made one for Brittany from Turquoise Street, and I sent it to her, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have some like frame of reference, so I'm actually having to watch my own video to see what I did. And that's how kind of scattered brain I am sometimes. If I don't write this down with little pictures and everything to figure out how to measure it, where to put the, like, there's going to be no knots on this, so that's a good thing, but usually where to put the knots, that kind of thing, and what beads to use. So let's go ahead and work through this, and once I do a few of these, I will definitely create a really detailed tutorial with even how much leather to cut for your size. So I'll work that out as well. I'll do some different sizes and whatnot. But for today, Carol's wrist size is 6.5, which is awesome because that's mine. So I'll be able to take it off and try it on my wrist. So what I normally do is I take the wrist size, I add 1/2 inch. So that would give me 8 inches. Now we also have this button, so you got to remember that really your button's going to be over on this end. Make sure you can see all of this. So your button's going to start on this end, but because when this is a cuff bracelet, you have to remember that your button is going to overlap at the end. So I just start from this end with my leather. So there's my 8. And if this is boring for you, you just want to watch how I did it, just fast forward. So, but for some people, it's important to know how to get there. So what I do is, because this is a cuff bracelet, and I'm trying to think, I might have an example. Just one sec. Okay, so this was the first one I made, and a few things went wrong with it. You can see how wonky it is. But the idea is you have your button on one side and your closure on the other side, and it's part of your leather and your beads. So then you turn it and pop it in this way, and that gives you your closure. So as you can see, your bracelet length is going to be either minus the button or minus the closure, but you do have to include at least one length in there. So I'm just going to do it with the closure. So I'm going to add the closure, but I'm not going to add the button. So the button is going to go to, say, this side here, and we're going to start measuring from here. So we said 6.5 inch wrist plus 1/2 inch. I always add 1/2 inch to make it a little so that it's not super tight on your wrist. It still ends up being snug. You can, if you like yours dangly and loose, then you can add another 1/2 inch, but I wouldn't add more. So there is 7, plus we are going to see what our closure is going to be. Let me bring it in frame here. Our closure is going to be the button and about a quarter, maybe 3/4 of an inch, or no, 1/4 of an inch on each side. So I just go ahead and add another 8, another inch. So that brings me to 8. So overall, your bracelet length is going to be about 8. Let me think here. No, you know what? We need to do it this way. Okay, so let's get to this measurement afterwards, but for now, what we need to know is how much leather to cut. So I would go to, say, the 8 inch mark, and because you are going to be wrapping your bracelet, you need 2 strands for every time you add your beads. So you're going to go 8, you're going to double that 8, so just fold it over. So now you have the middle part. then you need your outside strand on each side, plus a bit, because as you go around the corner here, you're going to need more. So as you go around, and you can see that was one of the problems I did, where I didn't put enough around the corner. So you need to add, say, another inch to that. So I would just do your initial 8-inch twice and then double it up. And then you're going to add, I'm trying to think why I added so much here. So that's your bracelet in a nutshell. I usually, okay, so we need to add some more to fold over. And actually I usually add at least one length for barrel knots, but since we're not doing barrel knots, we really don't need to do that. So I'll just say for right now, and I apologize, this is kind of confusing, so again, just fast forward. So what I did was when I got to this, 2 times 8, or really 4 times 8, because there's your 4 times 8. This is probably, you're probably not going to, maybe do 5 times 8 will probably be enough for your bracelet. I went ahead and doubled it. And I just did that because I have lots of leather, so I don't have to worry. And again, I'll work on this so that you don't have to waste as much leather. But one of the tricks I do is you never want to be at the end of your bracelet and run out of leather to create knots or your finishing and stuff like that. So what I do is add more than just a little bit. Add enough that when you finally clip that off, you have enough to make a single bracelet of your wastage. So then you're not wasting your leather. So that's just a little trick you can think about doing. So there, I've cut my leather. It's not the best way to explain that. But now we are gonna find our, where we need to. So we're gonna start out, and this leather is delicious. It's super soft. You can see how easy that was to bend over. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this and wrap it with either some of my upholstery thread, and you could put a little bit, actually we might put a little longer and then just clip it short. But we also need to be able to, once we have that, we find our length, we need to be able to thread the other piece of leather into our buttonhole. And as you can see, it's a bit tight there. So let's see, we may have to kind of mash that down a bit so that we can, yeah. So we'll also cut this on an angle to slide it in there. But in the meantime, what I can do is I can squeeze this down with my flat nose pliers. Be careful not to damage the leather. Just squeeze it down a bit. And there you have it, like that. So then we'll just do that. And look at that. That is beautiful. Pull it through a bit. There. Now we've got some nice space for our other leather to come through. I'm just going to double check to make sure it is going to fit. And if you have a button with a bigger shank, all the better. And you may think, oh, why is she doing all that? Just throw a knot in there. The whole idea of this bracelet is not to have any knots. Now with this one, we cut it on an angle, should be fine, but you can also smush this one down a bit at the beginning. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to squeeze it on the side because it might be hard to get through as well. So we'll just slide that in there, kind of twist it a bit, work it, and actually if you pull this one tighter, it might help. Let's see if I can grab a hold of that one. So there. And you know what? I can feel some resistance. I don't see any scuff marks, but I do feel some kind of roughness. So I am going to open this up with my new bead reamer. Yay! I just got it yesterday. So this was my old one that I use all the time. It still works, but this area here is quite smooth. This one's nice and rough. So sometimes you see these lines on the buttons. When they form the buttons, there's an edge on the inside as well. You can see that line there. So if you get rid of that, and this is easy enough to get rid of with your bead reamer. Look at that, it's really coming down. So let's get in there good. Look at how far that goes. That's a huge, and you see what happens too, so be careful of that. That's just the I think these are copper. They're supposed to be pewter buttons, but I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the reflection is showing a bit pink. So just be careful. I mean, you're not going to see the bottom of your button anyway, but you don't want to mess it up. And just gonna make sure there's no sharp edges on either side, and that looks kind of smooth there. Oh, there's a little there. Perfect. Okay, let's try that again. Slide that in. And so the reason why I'm doing this process rather than tying this off and gluing it first is I want to make sure that the leather's going to fit through before I glue it, and then I end up having to take it off and find a different button. There, that's going through a lot smoother. So that's perfect. So now we can do this part here. And I should have got my thread out for this one. Let me see if I can match up that thread. So I have some 1G thread that I bought particularly for this. It's super thin. Let me see if it will break if I pull hard on it. And if it does, we're going to use my regular upholstery thread. I do not like using thread that's going to break on these because they will. It's actually holding up. I'm like pulling really, really tight, so I'm kind of surprised. There is a bit of give in the, like it stretches out, but holy mackerel. Now this is called strong. So I'm wondering, you know what, let's go ahead and try this, and if we don't like the looks of it, we'll redo it. I have more buttons and more beads, so that's not an issue. And let me get my other thread out just in case. See if I can match a color. That's the problem with my upholstery thread is they're meant for upholstery, so there's not often an orange couch out there. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm just looking at the colors that might match. So I have this one, and that one looks pretty good, but this is called Dual Duty, and it's similar to the one I use. It does, okay, so this one says polyester. It still should work well, like that's not coming apart. So I'm almost tempted to go ahead with this one, because this one here, I just cannot get over how thin it is, and it might not hold the beads in place as well. So yeah, I think this might be better for embroidery. So if you have any experience with this, let me know. This is I saw videos like, ooh, let me get some, and they were on sale, so I got it, but I don't know if that'll work for this. And this is the other color. I don't want these. This will definitely show up on the leather, and I like it, the thread to disappear so that you see the beads in the leather, and that's it. So let's go. And we need a needle for that. And I might use a different, let me try a size 10 needle. So I'm using beading needles for this. It makes it a little hard to thread this on, but the reason I use this is these tile beads are, the holes are even smaller than seed beads, believe it or not. And if you use, because we're making multiple passes, if you use a bigger needle and thicker thread, it will crack the corners right off. You try and pull it through tight and it just pops that corner right off. So yeah, oh my god, these are so beautiful. These are probably the most beautiful tiles I've ever seen. They're my favorite with the Picasso finish. It's like a tortoise shell color. So okay, so we have those things there ready to go, and what we need now is we could use this thread to tie off my button, but it would take us a while to get that in there. I want to see if we can try some waxed cord. So I have some of this, but I had to be sure that we're not going to see this in our bracelet. And because that button is small, this is about as far as we could go, but you know what? That's as far as I want to go anyway. So yeah, I think we should try this with the glue. So let me just see if we can get this started. We'll add some glue and then tie it off. And you know what? I think I'm going to just cut a piece off of this. Find my scissors here. So this was the wax cord that I used to use for my workshops on making cuff bracelets, and just trying to figure which way to do this. If we do it this way, yeah, let's do it this way. So this was the cord that I used initially, and it's, you know, depending on what gemstone beads people would pick, they would have a really hard time. And I kind of want this flat to stay flat. Okay, I think that's probably enough, and I don't want to put too much cord. So let's see if we could tie a knot and tie that off. Because yeah, see, do you know what? I think I'm going to even pull it back some more. I don't think it needs that much. Just enough to hold it in place. So I have a clip here somewhere. To hold this in place. And I will knot that. Ooh, these are tight. I don't want to squish my leather down too much. So I'm going to use a collapsible needle for this thread because it is so thick. Or actually, no, that won't work. I was going to suggest a big eye needle, like but they're too soft. It wouldn't go through that. So I've got one here. Everything seems to have lint on it today. Oh, there's like huge. piece of lint. I have a cat that eats lint. Oh my gosh. Those cats, man, they'll eat anything. Okay, so what I want to do is, why don't we come through the hole here. And again, I apologize, this is a process video almost more than it is a tutorial. So I'm going to slide, get my tweezers to pull that through. I'm going to slide that through there and make sure I'm not tangled like I am. And hang on to that guy, and you see how it's sliding in there. Like that, and pull tight. And we're going to pull the other one tight. Not like super tight because it will come apart, but just enough that it's snug. So look at that. That is sweet. That is beautiful. So I am going to add some glue to this. You could probably leave it like that. Just clip those ends. And so this lovely wax cord is awesome. You see how stiff it is? Because it's waxed so well, it keeps its shape. It's super nice. So let me find my E6000, and I don't think I have a toothpick handy. I should have them, but I'll use this stick. Let me put some on this end first. See if I can kind of squeeze it in there. Take those mucky pieces out. Here. I'm gonna clean this off a bit. See if I can get some fresh stuff on there. Okay, and I'm gonna mash it down with the other end of the stick away from those yucky pieces. Kind of, I wonder if this glue is a bit old, because I find that it's really when I start to mash it down, it gets all crumbly and sticky, and I lost my lid. There it is. You know what? I have a toothpick here. I knew that I was a little more organized than that. So let's see if I can get it all around. But you see how it's creating these weird spots? There on that side. And don't worry if it gets on your button, because it just peels off. Oh, I don't want it to be too... Yeah, see how already it's drying and getting kind of wonky? I'm not going to bother with that stuff. There. So I am going to let that dry. I will clip that off. And I do have some clippers, but I don't know that they work that well. So let me use my scissors. Hopefully they're sharp enough. I may have to sharpen them. Oh, look at what it did to the glue. There. There we go. So I'm going to let that dry and I'll be right back. So I just wanted to show you, I really like the E6000, and sorry, let me grab the bracelet that I worked on or showed you last night. Just one sec. Okay, so I showed this at the beginning of a video last night. I worked on this last week, and these are magnetic clasps. I used E6000 glue to put these in, and it's incredible. So I'm pulling as hard as I can pull and it won't come out. So it works great, but this one was dry, and here's the big side that I did. This side here, and it was dry, and it looked a bit kind of whitish. So I tried to peel off a little piece that was there, and the whole thing came off. Now it might be because I'm using waxed cord. So I would, and I'll show you, like this is the other side, and it's just peeling right off. So this, I wouldn't use this one unless what you did was you glued before you put your cord, put some between the two pieces of leather, squeezed it shut, wrapped your cord, did it that way, it would work a lot better. But right now, because we're at this point, I could probably take this apart, but let's just go ahead and add some GS Hypo in there with the fine needle, just to secure, make sure everything's in there well, like that, and squeeze it a bit. Yeah, a bit came out. Go again, make sure it's coming out there. I'm going to go to the other side and do the same. Slide it in there and squeeze a bit, and that's it. So just do that on that one, and I'm just closing this. I am so excited. I got my new glasses last week, and actually I went back yesterday to have them adjusted because at Walmart, because they kept sliding off my nose, so everything was coming out of focus. So there we go, that's that. So let's slide in our piece of leather, our massive piece of leather. This is probably overkill here. And I'm just going to move this back because I've been moving forward, and now I'm like leaning over my desk here. So we need to slide this guy in through here. Actually, we can cut this now. So I'm going to use my good nippers for this. Let's cut it. Let me cut it there. If I have to go in and clean it up, I will. But I don't want the... So we'll see how that looks at the end. You probably won't see that because there'll be beads there. So now we're going to put the second one in here. And we're going to pull that through. And again, be careful not to... I think we had said we're going to do it this way. Yeah. So it's not damaging anything. We're going to set the ruler here because we need to measure out 7 inches. 8, I think. Just, let me see if I can untwist this leather here. Okay. So let me take this out so you can see what I'm doing here. So I've gone in, and this is what you're looking at here. And that doesn't look too bright. I'm just checking the lighting here. So you want to leave your loop, and you're going to put this through, because eventually when we get done the middle row, this is going to come alongside here, and then we're going to add the seed beads on the side. So, and it's still twisted, so see if you can untwist this a little better, and kind of just twirl it in between your finger and your thumb. There, that's a little better. Okay, now let's find our measurement here. So you can slide that back out there. So there's 7. Let me test it on my wrist. And this is the awesome part of doing a bracelet on a person that's the same size as you. Okay, so this is what 7 looks like. Let me slide that in there a bit. So there's no beads on there. There's no space. As we start to work our beads, we're going to be pulling our thread tight. So you definitely want another 1/2 inch. If not, I'm almost certain this would be way too tight. So let's just go from the button. And I'm already, if you fold it really tight, you're almost at 7 1/4. So bringing it to 8 is not very much. So let's keep going. And I'm gonna just a tick more. There. So there's your 8. Now we want to make sure this stays in place. So initially what I did was I put some tape on that and it actually slid around. I used painter's tape. So let me see if I can just use some Scotch tape. Or some washi tape. Maybe a piece of washi tape. It's kind of sticky. Yeah, it's super sticky. But it won't damage the leather. So let's bring that right under there. And see if so that part doesn't slide, but we need to make sure this stays in place. Once we secure our knot for our beading, it will work. So here's the other issue with this style of bracelet is normally when we do a wrap bracelet, we put it on a board, like a macrame board. So here is my board that I normally use when I'm doing videos. And the issue I have is I don't want this moving around. Let me see if I can just do this. So all I did was I slid my leather around. And we will. Yeah, see, this tape is moving, so we have to redo this. Let me double check the length. There's the 8. That's about there. Yeah, that's definitely not going to work. Try the Scotch tape. I might just tape the whole button for now until I figure out a better way to do this. This is like, oh, so silly. You could put a knot there, but it doesn't help this. It's still going to slide up. So that's why you're probably wondering, what is she doing? It's Emma. Of course she's doing something silly. I was talking this morning to one of the subscribers that has the same issues of following videos than other people. Okay, so that's not moving. It looks like crap, but it does the job. Okay, let's go back to our board here. So the board is great because it holds your stuff in place. And I have to get a macrame board. I'm so cheap. I'm like, no, I'm gonna buy those square blocks, the interlocking blocks that you get for your children's playrooms or the basement floor. And cut them into like 4 macrame boards. And the funny part of that is I saw some on sale at Walmart, and I didn't buy it because I was kind of embarrassed. I was afraid my wife was going to say, what do you need that for? Never mind. So there we go. Let's see what we can get going here. I'm just using my yoga knee pad to tilt this up a bit for you. And we get started. So let's take a wingspan of your thread. And we are gonna add some beeswax to that to condition your thread so it doesn't get all tangled. So this is my beeswax. You can get these on Amazon for super cheap. Or the fabric store has the little round discs that have, and there's a big knot in that. Cut that off. That's all it takes. So I was mentioning about, about Walmart and my eyeglasses. I think it's so hilarious that I have been having problems threading my needles, and I realize now the reason I had a problem is I couldn't see. And if you watch some of my videos, you've seen me say, oh, these needles have no eyes in them. How did they sell these like this? They're terrible. Like, I looked back at them with my new glasses. They have eyes. It's just my glasses that I was wearing before were so bad that I couldn't see. There we go. Look at that. That is awesome. So just pull that to get any knots out, and we're going to set that there. We are going to start on this side and leave yourself a tail because you're going to thread this tail back into your tiles. So this is another thing that I do differently. And actually, you know what? I think I need to get in here. Because I want to bring my knot up a bit there. Let's do it like that. So you can see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to tilt this up even more. And I'm going to try and enlarge this for you. So I've put a knot in here, and it's kind of a loose knot. Now the second one's going to be snug, and the reason I do this is I want this to be able to move, because when I start putting my tiles in, I want the knot to slide in the hole of the bead, and that way you hide your knots. So that's why I do it that way. So we got our first tile. And we are set to go. I'm so excited. This could be the beginning of a bunch of these guys. So you go over top both strands of leather. Hold your bead in place. You're going to go under and through the bead. And you're going to come out underneath the other side. Oh, you can't see that. Wonder how that works. Let me see. I have a little wedge of wood that I put into my fell on the floor, into my tablets holder, and it tilts it up a bit so you can see better. Let's put that there. Okay, so just hang on to your bead and pull your thread through. Now when it gets to this point, I slide that up, and you want to pull the first strand that you went over top a little tight, and then pull the other one tight. So let's just make sure let's bring it up a bit more. And pull that tight there. So now you're going to go through the second hole. So you're taking your thread is at the bottom of your left hand side. You're going to go over top. Now in here, let's bring this down now that I think of it, and tighten that. There. Okay, and a way that you can tighten this is by just pinching on the one side and pulling your thread. Now, like I said, these holes are super tiny. That might not go in there like you want. But once you thread this back in the tail, it will pop in a bit. So we'll just leave it like that. Now we're on to the second hole. This looks like a lot, like really complex right now, but you'll get the idea. It's this first one started with all your knots. Again, it's to avoid having knots everywhere. So you're going to go through your bead over top of both pieces of leather, pull tight, and make sure it doesn't tangle, and pull that tight, and there you go. And then you're going to go under and through that second hole and pull tight again, and you see how it gets all jumbled. Just be careful. You might want to, I feel like I need to wax this again. That would take those twists out of there. So let me just do that. And you're probably wondering, oh, how many tiles do I need to use? What you can do is, my ruler's in here somewhere, is to take your ruler, and I'm going to stick with the inches for my American friends, which is funny since I'm Canadian, and I'm guessing that Carol is from the UK. She's like, why are you using inches? Okay, so just slide them up against, or multiply the, they're 6 by 6 centimeters. So do the calculation, but yeah, just do, I can't even see what I'm doing here. Do something like that, and it'll give you, let me just do it quickly. We'll have an idea how many we need. Well, let's say we do, that's 1 inch, so there's 4, so we're going to need times 7, so 28. That sounds about right, so give or take. So normally these guys come in strands of 25, so you will probably need, but depending on the button situation, because your closure is going to be at the end, so you may not need a full 28. And I'm just going to pull this stuff out of the way so it doesn't get tangled on anything, and I'll do a few more of these, and then I'll pause it and come back when we get to the end. So there's our next one. Slide that into the spot, and under and through. So I'm finding this thread, this is the polyester thread. Now it's lovely because it it matches, but I really like the nylon thread a lot better. It doesn't tangle as much. Okay, now through the second hole. I'm going to make sure that I'm in view here. Sorry, I kind of have to hold on to stuff. Okay, the other way you can hold your thread tight is to pull it down like this and pinch it against your leather and then pull the other side till you get to the end and then pull it through there. And again, you don't have to pull this like super tight. You don't want to squeeze your leather and cut it with your thread, and you will if you pull it too tight. So there's your next one. Like that. And pull, make sure they are all. There you go. This is coming along really nicely. So I'll go ahead and I'll do the length and I'll show you what I do at the end when I get to the button closure and then when we start to turn around to do the seed beads. So there we go. I mean, I guess you could start from the button closure now that I think of it. You could start at this end and go this way so that you use the same strand of thread to start going the other way. I think it's probably best to use a different strand for those things, because if you do get a pull on, say, your seed beads and it's near an end, it might pull the other beads out of, you know, wonky whatever. So let's just continue with that, but I'll be right back. Okay folks, I am going to show you a few things to be totally transparent with what's going on with this. So I ran out of thread and I wasn't quite done. So this is the, let me pull this out here. Okay, I had this tied up, that's why it's, I'm like, why is that all twisted? That was on my board, so I took it off the board. Here's the first thing I want to mention is when you're making any type of leather bracelet, be sure to take it off your board frequently, especially wrapped ones, and test it on whatever measurement, whether it's your wrist, somebody else's, or mandrel. Measure, because I can tell you just about probably every 5th bracelet I make ends up with one that's either too long or too short. So let me see my ruler on this one. So I took it off and measured it on my wrist, and guess what? It's too big. So I did a full 8 inches on this. What I should have done was a 7.5. Or 7, sorry, because the wrist size is 6.5 and we're adding 1/2 inch. So I got mixed up in my measurements. So we need to be here. So that's 1 inch too big. So I went ahead and tested it on my wrist like this. And you can see there's the clasp, the end is a full inch too big. And even at this, it's nice, like it still moves around. So I'm gonna see, I've taken the tape off, I'm gonna see if I can slide this without damaging the threading too much, and I'm pretty sure I can. So let's try. I could be doing this all over again, so I'm gonna kind of hang on to these beads up here. Actually, we'll start down here and see if we can kind of jiggle these around and slide that in. And pull it down and slide them up. So I think I might redo this. I don't want it to be funky looking. It's not moving that much. I did too good a job with the threading here. And also don't want it to. I'll make one more attempt and then do this differently. So I'm wondering if this one seems tight. That's probably what's happening here. And I thought I didn't have it tight, but it's a bit loose. So this is a good way to fix your mistakes, but you know what? Again, like I said, I might just pull this out because there's one other thing I want to show you that I did that I'm not happy with at all. Let's see if that did anything. I doubt it. I probably got... Actually, that actually did it. So we can just bring that down. That. Hey. It's funny that first knot really hung in there. Okay. Okay, let's straighten these guys out. Double check the measurement here. That gives us 7.5. Double check. I think it's still going to be a bit loose. Yeah, I think I need to tighten that a little bit more. So maybe like this. There's... So I hope you guys aren't too bored with this right now. I still have a few more beads to go on as well. But I ran out of thread. I guess it's been a while since I've been doing wrap bracelets and I don't like the way this thread, it's really tangling a lot. I normally use the nylon thread, and once you condition it once, it's fine. So let's move these guys over here. And if Carol, if you're watching, don't worry, I'm gonna redo this one for you. This will not be yours, it will be mine, don't worry. I'm sure you don't appreciate to have your bracelet all muddled like this. I'm so particular and a perfectionist, there's no way I would use an example like this as something that I sell. So okay, let's test it. I mean, it looks awesome and I will definitely wear it. Okay, so this still is too loose. There, you see? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and redo this, but for the meantime, I'm going to show you, this is the thing that I was saying. I didn't realize when I did it, when I was doing it, I wasn't really paying too much attention. So now, once you have this end done, you're going to go and you're going to fold your leather over this way, and you're going to start beading your seed beads, and just the fact of beading them will hold your leather in place. So then you go around and around your closure like this, and then around the other side, and then when you get to this end, you need to finish off your cord somehow. So we're going to finish it off the way we finished this off. But here's the problem. I already have a sort of quasi knot there. So I would probably finish it off on this side. I think what I should have done, and I could probably flip this, is do something like this and have this knot in here so it's not sticking out. So all I would have had to do is this would stay on the one side. Yeah, but the beads are in the wrong way. Yeah, there's no way to do this. So yeah, I definitely have to start over. So this, like this should be on the other side of it, like this. If that makes any sense. So that leather should be on the other side, so that this piece here is tucked in this little triangle, so it's hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Right now haven't decided if I'm going to post this video showing you all this messiness. I might anyway, because people are interested in the reality of how you figure out these things, and some people might have some ideas, so I might post it anyway. In the meantime, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to start all over, and maybe what I'll do is just leave this one like that so I can show you and talk about it, and then I will show you a really polished one, a tutorial where we actually start right away with the beads. How's that? And we can talk about the measurements as I'm beading. Okay, take care everybody, and thanks for watching. Thanks for being patient. And you know what? This is all a process. It's all, I mean, I've been doing these leather wrap bracelets for 10 years now, so it's not quite new, but doing up the cuff bracelets is very new for me, and I'm trying to do it the best way so that it's really polished. So I appreciate your patience. Take care everyone. Bye.